Okay, I'm back again. So yesterday in the video, I had asked you guys to work this problem, take a picture of it and post it to Canvas. And I know some of you did that, some of you did not. I wanted to show it to you worked out though, so you guys can, if you still have your paper from yesterday from wherever you worked this, or you could pull it up from what you posted onto Canvas or look at your pictures. I wanted you to see how it should have looked. Now, your work might look just a little bit different if you did the 0 of 3 first instead of -5 first. So it's okay if you did the 3 first and the -5 second. That's okay. But your work would probably look a little different, but your 4 answers should all be the same. These are the 2 answers you get from the calculator, and then these are the 2 answers you get when you solve with the square root method. And lucky for us, we were able to do the square root method because there was no plain x. Yay! Our lucky day. So anyway, I just wanted to give you a moment so you could see what you did yesterday, what you tried, and how it looks compared to mine. Okay, so I'm going to move this now, but if you need to pause me and look at this longer and try to figure out what I did, that's fine. But I'm going to go on and I'm going to do some more problems on this assignment in case some of you are just, still really struggling. So I'm still working on this assignment over 6-6. Okay, so I'm going to do this top number 1. So first thing I'm going to do is use the calculator and find what zeros I can with the calculator. Okay, I know there's going to be 3 answers total when I'm done. All right, so let's look. So I'm going to my calculator. I need to go to y equals, and I'm going to type that equation in. So let me clear all this out. So I've got 4x to the third. Oops, need to raise that to the third. Right arrow to get the cursor down. Plus 16x squared minus 22x minus 10. All right, let's hit graph and see what we can find. So there are 3 real answers, but I can already tell that's definitely a decimal, so he's not going to do me any good. That's definitely a decimal, so he's not going to do me any good. And this one over here looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like -5. So I'm going to go second graph. And let's see. Yep, -5 is an answer because there's a 0 in the y column. And if I look for any other zeros, I don't find any. So we only got one answer from the calculator, which is -5. So I'm going to write x equals -5. And then that means I'm only going to do synthetic division once, which is okay, because once you do it once, the x cubed goes to x squared, and then we'll be able to solve. All right, so first you put the 0 in the box. Pull down the coefficients, drop, drop, drop. So I'm going to bring down the 4. In front of the x squared is 16. In front of the x is -22. And the constant is -10. And I don't need any zeros because nothing was missing. I had x cubed, x squared, x constant. All right, so I bring down the first number. So bring down that first number and then multiply 5 times 4. Add these together. That's 36. Multiply. We've got, did I do something wrong? Oh, it was a -5. Ooh, so close. That was a -5, remember? I'm sorry. So if I look back at my calculator, it was a -5 up here, not a +5. So -5. All right, so this is a -5. So I still bring down the first number. So 4 times -5, that's -20. But I do not get 36 when I add those together. So if I add 16 and -20, I get -4. Okay, back to multiplying. -5 times -4 is +20. If I add these, I get -2. If I multiply -5 and -2, I get +10. And if I add those, I get 0. Yay! Remainder is 0. As long as my remainder is a 0, I know I didn't screw up. So if I would have kept that mistake, then that would not have been a 0, and I would have known there was an error somewhere. All right, so remember, the first time you do synthetic division, the exponent goes down 1. So this x cubed becomes an x squared. So that 4 is in front of an x squared. That minus 4 is in front of an x. And that negative 2 is the constant. So I need to set this equal to 0 and solve it. All right, because it's got an x in it, I'm going to use quadratic formula. I know this is not your favorite, but I do think some of you need to practice with it. So a is in front of the x squared, so a is 4. B is in front of the x, so b is negative 4. C is the constant, so c is negative 2. And then I need to calculate my b squared minus 4ac. All right, so slap parentheses where the b is, slap parentheses where the a is, slap parentheses where the c is. So into the b, I'm going to put the negative 4. Into the a, I'm going to put the 4. And into the c, I'm going to put negative 2. All right, and I'm going to make my calculator calculate this all right here. Okay, so I'm going to my calculator. And if you don't remember from yesterday, if you want to get out of the screen, you just go second mode, and it quits you out of the screen. Second mode. And then I'm back to this calculator screen that I was in yesterday. So I'm going to go parenthesis, negative 4, close it, square it, minus, remember that one's a minus, 4, parenthesis, put your 4, close it, parenthesis, negative 2, close it, and I get 48. So 48 is what I get when I put that in my calculator. All right, so this made a 48. All right, so I'm going to sing my formula to you again. X equals the opposite of b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, let's plug in stuff. So first, it wants the opposite of b. So what's the opposite of a negative 4? A positive 4. Plus or minus square root. Who did we just find our b squared minus 4ac to be? 48. And then all over 2a. So I want to take 2 times my a. So what do I get when I take 2 times my a? 8. 2 times 4 is 8. All right, now yesterday when I did the quadratic formula, this guy right here was a perfect square, and I was able to take the square root of it and get something pretty. Today, unfortunately, you cannot do that. So we have to think back to breaking it down. So we want to try to think of our largest perfect square that can go into 48 and how many times it can go in. So I know some of you probably know, some of you may not, but it's 16 goes in there 3 times, and then the square root of 16 is 4, and then you can't take the square root of 3, so you recopy that. So I'm going to recopy this. So I've got equals 4 plus minus. I'm replacing this square root of 48 with 4 square root of 3. And I'm recopying the all over 8. Okay, now remember, this is when you look at the 3 front numbers, and if you can divide those 3 front numbers all by something, you do it. And we can. We can divide all of those by 4. What's 4 divided by 4? 1. Put your plus minus. What's 4 divided by 4? 1. Put your big division bar. What's 8 divided by 4? 2. And then this square root of 3, you can't do anything with it, so you just recopy it. And here are 2 answers. 1, 2, and then the other 2 answers were, the other 1 answer was what we got with the calculator, which was negative 5. And we have 3 answers total when we're done. Okay, so there's that. So I know this is 2 days in a row, back to back of seeing quadratic formula. I know it's kind of intimidating, a little overwhelming, but hopefully you feel like you understand how to do it. Okay, so next, let's look at this one right here, I think I want to do. Okay, so I'm going to first use my calculator to see how many zeros I can find with it. So I'm going to go to my handy dandy calculator. Whoa, you guys don't want to see this. You probably actually do want to see this. Okay, so let me go to my y equals, and I'm going to type in that big equation. All right, so I had x raised to the third, pop the cursor down, minus 5x squared plus 7x minus 35. I'm going to hit graph, and it only touches once, and it looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see if it's 5. Second graph. So 5, sure enough, is an answer because there's a 0 in the y column. So x equals 5. So I know that there's 3 total answers, which means the other 2 must be imaginary. All right, so let's write down the 5 that we found. So we've got x equals 5, and we will only do synthetic division once, which is okay because then the x cubed will become x squared. So if they ever start out x to the 4th, you'll end up doing synthetic division twice to get it down to x squared. But if it starts out x cubed, you'll just do synthetic division once to get it down to x squared. All right, so first you put the 0 in the box. So put 5 in the box. Pull down the coefficients, drop, drop, drop. So in front of x cubed is a 1, in front of x squared is a negative 5, in front of the x is a 7, and the constant is negative 35. All right, I'm going to bring down the first number. So bring that first number down. And then multiply 1 times 5, add, that's 0. Multiply 5 times 0, that's 0. Add, you get 7. Multiply 5 times 7 is 35. Add, you get 0. Yay! Our remainder is 0, which means I did not screw up. All right, so synthetic division, the first time you do it, the exponent goes down 1. So instead of x cubed, this is in front of x squared. So that's 1x squared, or just x squared. The 0 is in front of an x, but I don't need to write 0x because that's just 0. So the constant is the 7. And you never have to write anything with the remainder. So I need to set this equal to 0 and solve. And it's our lucky day because there's not a plain x. So the goal is to get Mr. X squared by itself and square root. So to get rid of addition of 7, I subtract it. The x squared comes down. 0 minus 7 makes negative 7. And then to get rid of the squared, we're going to square root. I'm going to slap down my plus minus. Who takes the negative out? I. And then you're left with the positive square root of 7. And you can't take the square root of 7. You can't break it down. So that's it. And we've got 2 answers right here. And this was our third answer that we got when we used the graphing calculator. So 3 answers total. Okay, so I am currently on this assignment over 6-6, which is linked on your Canvas calendar, so you guys can pull it up. I don't care if you can print it. If you can print it, fine. If you can't, fine. But this is where I'm at. So what I want you to try to do for me is on the back. I'm asking you to try 2 for me today, okay? I want you to try number 3 and number 4. So if you don't have this paper, then you just need to write these 2 problems down on a piece of paper, and then I want you to work them, and then take a pic, and I want you to put them in Canvas. So I'm going to have these Canvas assignments where you can upload your pictures of your problems worked out. So I want you to try both of these. I will tell you now that this one is going to use quadratic formula, but this one will just be the square root method. So this one will be way easier, but this one uses quadratic formula, but you need to practice it because some of you really kind of struggle with that. Okay, so I'm asking you to try these 2 problems for today, and then take a picture and put them in Canvas. Okay, good luck. Smiley face.